Welcome to the Parenting Roundabout podcast. I'm Terry Morrow.
And I'm Catherine Haleko.
As parents and parenting writers, we can't help but see everything through a parenting lens. But as our kids have become adults, we find ourselves more interested in getting caught up on movies and streaming than on going over the same parenting topics over and over.
So since we're pretty sure we can find parenting wisdom anywhere, we're going to talk about what we're watching, what we thought about it, and maybe what we can learn from it, if only what not to do. Watch and listen along, and let's all make like we're doing something important for our families. Each Tuesday, we'll be bringing you our thoughts on a newer entertainment property, and for this week of July 8th, we're kicking it off with A Gentleman in Moscow, a limited series on Paramount Plus. I mean, kind of, like you have to have Showtime. I don't know.
We watched it on our TV on demand, which just like felt so primitive.
I was able to get it on Amazon Prime with a Paramount Plus subscription, I think. Which I wasn't able to get the talented Mr. Ripley the same way, so I don't understand. But anyway.
Sounds like something they would use to torture the Count in this show.
Yes.
You can watch anything you want if you have the right membership.
Yep.
Here, we hope you can find it.
So this premiered at the end of March. It is based on a 2016 book of the same name by Amor Towles, which I really loved, and I've read a lot of his stuff at this point. Anyway, so this first one is called A Master of Circumstance. And what did you think, jumping in with no context?
In which his circumstances greatly changed.
They changed quite a bit. Mm-hmm.
Yes. Interestingly, right before I watched this, but when I knew we were going to, there's a podcast I listened to called Godsplaining, which has a couple of Catholic priests as the co-hosts. And they just happened to coincidentally discuss this book on their episode that I was listening to, which they liked. And they tried not to be spoilery, but they did say some things that are coming up. I mean, you can pretty much see the direction things are going in from the first episode. But there were a couple of little details, but mostly they, like you, liked it and found it very meaningful and discussed some of the things about it. So I wasn't coming in completely not knowing.
Right.
I kind of had the basic outline.
Okay.
But, wow, I thought Ewan McGregor did a fantastic job.
Mm-hmm. And he's like... You can't even recognize, I mean...
No, that's the thing. I never throughout that hour of watching him said, hey, Ewan McGregor's doing a fantastic job. He was the Count.
Yeah.
That's just who he was.
Yeah.
He was completely embodying that character to a really impressive degree.
Yes.
And all the different thoughts and feelings this guy had going on. And of course, the character is acting as well. So...
Yes.
That adds another layer to it.
Mm-hmm.
Just really impressive.
Yes, there were some parts where I thought that it really captured a lot of what the book was doing in terms of the way he sort of takes things in stride, and he's like, well, okay, this is how it's going to be now. Obviously in the book, when he is escorted to his new room, there's a lot more detail of like what he takes with him from his previous suite and how it barely fits in this new room. And in the series, there was this sort of montage of him, waking up each day and doing a few squats or whatever it was, and just kind of starting off his day. And the book does this great thing where it's never called out, but it says, I don't know I can't remember all the details, but he did, let's say 20 squats and he read 50 pages of a certain book, and, he had all these things that he did. And then as the book goes along, the numbers dwindle, right? Yeah. Now he's down to 5 push-ups, and and it's just a wonderful way to show the passage of time.
Yes,
as in his imprisonment. But he's so, he's not cheerful, and he's not resigned, but he's just like making the most of it somehow.
Yeah.
Or pretending to be, as you said. He's acting.
Yeah, it reminded me of a line that I know from The West Wing, which is actually sort of quoted or misquoted from The Lion in Winter, which is, how does it matter how a man falls down? When the fall is all that's left, it matters a great deal. And that's like, he's going to do this.
Right.
Even though it's very difficult, he's just going to keep on doing it. And, whether he can keep on doing it for 8 episodes or however many pages, we shall see. But,
right.
You got to admire it. And also because, they could not have been less subtle in the casting and direction of that waiter. It's like, all right, we need somebody who obviously looks like a weasel and will behave perfectly like a weasel so that you will know right away that he's trouble. But the loyalty of the other hotel staff to him was really sort of adorable.
Yes, and that definitely continues as you goes. So
yeah. And his friend, the violinist. The prince.
Tragic.
Just pretty much had doomed stamped on his forehead from the first moment we saw him.
Right.
It's like the thing that's not going to happen to the Count is going to happen to him.
Right. And here's how we know,
yeah,
why it's very important for him not to actually leave.
Yes.
The hotel.
Yes. I don't know. It's interesting. I'm interested to see where this goes and how long it goes. And oh my gosh, could they have found a more adorable little girl?
Yes.
Just the cutest.
Yes.
But since we're talking about these things from a parenting perspective, I would say the first parenting tip we can get from a gentleman in Moscow is do not give your kid a pass key that lets her go into every part of the hotel and then leave her alone.
I don't believe that her parents gave her the key.
Lock up the pass key.
I think she acquired it, in less than less than permissible
you mean her dad
ways.
doesn't want her rifling through papers in the offices?
No, and I believe her parents or her father. No, her mother's dead, right? Her father is. I think he's a guest. I don't think he's an employee.
Oh,
but I think
I thought he was like somebody involved in the new regime.
No, I don't believe so.
No? Okay. Because she said something like my dad says there's things more too important to keep at the Kremlin or something like that.
Yeah, but not, right, involved in perhaps that regime, but not the hotel. It's not a staff member.
No, not the hotel.
Yeah.
Clearly not the hotel.
Right. Yes, but, I'm not sure it was ever explained how she got her hands on that key, but it's very important.
This is the kind of thing you would want to watch out for, I think, if you were a parent in this situation. Like, if they can lock up this grown man in a room, maybe they could lock up the kid also.
Right. Yeah, she'll
be fine.
She's pretty much left to her own devices, let's say. Dad has bigger fish to fry, apparently. Yes. So
keep an eye on your children. If you have power, assign somebody to watch over the kid.
Yes.
And not allow her to have the complete run of the hotel with a guy who is an enemy of the people.
Yes. Who is actually quite a lovely person to her.
Yes.
And she is in reasonably good hands with him, but
I don't think that the regime would think that.
Exactly. The regime would absolutely not agree.
He's filling her head with tales of princes and princesses.
That's right.
Well, there's already a lot of princesses in there already, I think. But
in her mind, yes.
But the whole idea of not letting people have the satisfaction of beating you,
yes,
is an interesting philosophy from a parenting point of view also, because I do feel like we want to tell our kids that sometimes. Like, if you lose a game, you don't cry, you don't throw things, you just say, thank you so much for playing with me. That was, you there's a certain level of behavior that here is being shown as aristocratic behavior that's also just smart,
right,
socially,
right,
and that's somebody refers to the Count as refusing to be beaten, and that's something that we can all try to do,
right. And he learned it from his grandmother who raised him.
Yes, and it totally drives the other people crazy. So
it does.
The people who want to have beaten you.
That's right. That is true.
They refer to this unpleasant acquaintance as that the guy is a pill. Why would you give him the satisfaction of having beaten you? I feel like I've given that advice to my children.
Right.
But it's, you don't have to give in. There's many different ways to not give in. One of them is through violence. Another which is just through survival.
Right.
And
that is what the Count will do.
Become more and more difficult for the Count as time goes on. But we shall see.
Right.
But it was. I watched this with my husband, who thought it was ridiculous and was kind of rooting for the bad guys.
Of course he was.
Why are they putting this guy up? Why are they doing this? Why don't they just shoot him?
Oh, nice.
I don't get it. Why are they keeping him alive? I'm like, well, probably they think it's a fate worse than death. So,
right.
To just slowly humiliate him over the course of time. But in the meantime, he gets himself some nice fish and
makes a friend.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. Gets his mustache trimmed. In a way he did not intend, but still looks good.
Yeah.
Well, so there's 8 episodes of this?
There's 8 episodes, and I did note that the author is an executive producer, so
that's a good sign.
Pretty faithful so far to the book. In terms of what you can show. You can't. Yeah. Like I said, there's another sort of runner in the book where he talks about the window in his room, and he at first says it's like the size of a chessboard, and then he says it's the size of a book, and then he says it's the size of a postage stamp. It keeps getting smaller in his mind. That is you can't really convey. But
various tantalizing flashbacks and allusions to a story about, is it Helena?
His sister. Mm-hmm.
Okay. How do you pronounce that name?
It's one of those names that can go a lot of different ways.
A mystery involving Helena.
Yeah, I think
I'm sure will be further revealed, but it's keeping him there, or maybe keeping him locked up.
All right.
Interesting. I also like what he said about these. I guess he finds a chair that belonged to his grandfather. They're in some dusty corner of the hotel.
Right.
And the little girl says, they're just things. And he says, all my memories exist within them. Like, I got some things like that.
Right. Yeah.
And then again, from a parenting point of view, when your kids break those things because they're just things, it's very upsetting.
Yes, it is.
You want to keep those things on a high shelf, or possibly a dusty back room with a key that cannot be opened.
Right.
By a young girl who's altogether too curious. But, that's the little girl with the passkey is like one of those cheats in a TV show, because there's really no reason he would be able to go everywhere he needs to be able to go for the story to be interesting.
Right.
So, hey, look at this, a key that goes absolutely everywhere. And somebody has let a child have it. Right. Sure. That seems okay. That's a little rhetorical.
Yes.
A little rhetorical tool that we will allow because she's adorable and we want to be someplace other than just his room for the next 7 weeks.
Yes. Indeed.
Well, have anything else to say?
I don't think so. I'm excited to keep going. I hope you are too.
I am.
Good. So next Tuesday, we'll discuss the next episode of A Gentleman in Moscow titled An Invitation.
Oh.
An invitation could be good or bad, I believe.
I'm thinking an invitation would generally not be good in this scenario. Do we ever see that hotel manager again, by the way? He was pulled out of the meeting in a way that looked like possibly he was going out a window.
I think so. So. So we'll cover that next Tuesday, but we'll be back here tomorrow for a discussion of an older entertainment property, Lost.
Yeah, speaking of being trapped someplace you don't want to be and lots of flashbacks. Lost!
There we go.
Thank you for listening. You can find all our episodes on Spreaker, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, or wherever you get your podcasts. You can find recaps, links, and an opportunity to comment on our website at parentingroundabout.com.
You can also talk to us on our Facebook page, on Instagram, or on Twitter, where you'll find us at Roundabout Chat. And please visit our Amazon shop at amazon.com/shop/mamatude, where you can find links to a lot of the things we've talked about over the years.